let's start with Teddy Prochazka. Okay. We all were at the open practice. Turner Corcoran was working with the ones at that spot. Teddy P, and it wasn't like they were rotating. Turner Corcoran was working with the ones.
Do you remember what you asked me when I was watching offensive line?
If Teddy was hurt.
You said, is Teddy healthy?
Yeah. Because he wasn't playing.
I said, oh, no, I think he's fine.
And then he hopped in. I was like, oh, I guess he's fine. Okay. Like Turner was working with the ones. I
just wondered if you remembered that.
100%.
Okay.
Like Turner was working with the ones. It wasn't a rotation. He was working with the ones. Okay. So let's start there before we panic, right? Now, if you're just talking about...
Now, not everybody knows that, so you got to give a little grace.
No, but we did say it on air.
I know, but listen, a lot of people listen. That doesn't mean everybody knows.
A lot of people hear it. A lot of people don't listen.
No, I'm saying to the show, like...
No, I know. But right? If you're listening to us or, which you should be, you knew that Turner was working with the ones. We said it out loud on the Monday or whatever after, okay? So does that mean I don't think losing Teddy matters? No, but context is important here. Second thing, okay?
Can I say something else real quick?
Absolutely.
Did you guys love Teddy before anything happened?
But like last year?
Yeah.
No, we didn't love anybody on the offensive line.
The ability to stay... like to not absolve ourselves of responsibility is part of this whole thing that was driving me crazy yesterday. Let's not act like we all thought
that this offensive line was anything.
Teddy was Jonathan Ogden going into
No, people were panicked last year.
So I just want
when he had to play.
I just want to remind people. And remember when he first started playing, they eased him back in. What position did he come in and play?
Guard.
No, Teddy.
Oh, he came on played inline tight end, didn't he?
Tight end.
Yeah. He came in as like an extra big body tight end.
Yeah.
Like they worked him in slowly. And then I think, and this is what I was getting to, somebody else got injured on the offensive line, and he had to kind of speed up his re-entry into what he was doing. So here's the thing I was going to talk about from last year, right? With a group that none of us liked, okay? None of us.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, as a fan base. Yeah. No one in the fan base was like, offensive line might be pretty good. No one said that.
I remember people telling me I was defending Raiola because he was my boy, and I was like, we don't go have dinner. He barely talks. Like, I just go with what I see.
Yes.
If I retweet stats about time in the pocket the quarterbacks have to pass, and Nebraska being in the top 4 and like averaging over 4 yards per carry and running for 169 yards a game.
Yeah.
That's not because I like a guy. That's because I'm right here. I'm just in the moment.
You like being right.
Correct.
You like getting it right. You like getting it right.
Correct.
So let's not pretend like last year Nebraska didn't go through stretches where they were missing 3 starters off the offensive line, and none of us really noticed because this depth of this group that we hated was so good already that we didn't notice a drop-off when 60% of the offensive line was missing for multiple games in the middle of the season.
Do you remember me having this segment? It was darn near a meltdown when I said, I liken it to what I heard from Dave Ramsey one time, where he would talk about look at what you spend your money on. Like, go back and balance your checkbook, see where your money goes. That's what your real interests are. And I said, conversely, after every game, how much time did we spend as a fan base saying, man, you know what, that offensive line?
Almost none.
But all we ever did was bitch about and moan about the offensive line. And I was like, how much time do you spend talking bad about the offensive line when you're trying to explain what happened in a game?
Yeah, almost none.
Was it ever a thing?
It was never the problem. And at no point last year was the offensive line the problem.
I don't know. I don't want to ask people out there, but that was my whole 20-minute rant.
Yes.
I'm like,
so that's my point.
Where's your energy?
Energy was on turnovers, quarterback play, mistakes.
I don't remember it being about offensive line.
It wasn't. It was never about offensive line. So that's kind of my point is this offensive line that we didn't like last year, that didn't have any guys that we liked last year. We wanted to drive Benhart to the airport, get him out of there, right? Missed 60% of their offensive line for multiple games, and there was basically no drop-off, okay? We lose one guy now that was not working with the ones, now that we have an offensive line that we think is deep, which, by the way, this kind of goes to Lance's call again. We forget about Like, I know we are more familiar with the depth on the interior. We continually forget about Tyler Knack. We continually forget about Jacob Hood. We assume
we don't like Segrin because he was too close to home and kind of an afterthought.
We assume because Gunnar Gatula wasn't what he was in high school, what he might be now, that he can't be good. And then we're like, well, hopefully we don't have to play a true freshman, Grant Bricks. I haven't even thought about Grant Bricks.
Me neither.
I don't think he is playing.
Me neither.
Because you've got, I think, so many guys ahead of him and physically mature. Like, let's not act. And then
even though Bricks does look,
sure,
way better than when he got here.
I think Grant Bricks is going to be a really good offensive lineman. But same thing with Gunnar Gatula. Like, why can Grant Bricks look better than he did in high school, but Gunnar Gatula can't?
Our pre-existing notion.
Right, because we were too close to Gunnar Gatula, right? So,
Shane, do we have a call? Because Ravi can't.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
And here's one last thing before we get to Will. And I wanted to ask this question of one of our guests earlier in the week, and we ran out of time. What makes you believe that Turner Corcoran can't be this year's Bryce Benhart? We hated Bryce Benhart. Turner Corcoran's been better than Bryce Benhart was before last year. So let's get to Will on the Hurrdat hotline. Will, what's going on? Will, you there? What's up?
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Will the Thrill, what's up, buddy? What's going on?
Not too much. Driving to Storm Lake, Iowa today.
I've been out that way. I was going to a dealership out that way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like in the middle of nowhere. But,
and it's not even that far from me either. I was like, I still feel like I'm only 40 minutes from home, but wow, I don't recognize anything. What's up, bud?
Well, I just wanted to jump in. I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying as far as the tenor change. I think there was a multitude of reasons for that. But I think with the Prochazka thing, I think that kind of started it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with him, there was still a long way to go with development for him. And I think that's why a lot of people were hopeful for, the O-line this season was they saw the development that Rilo was able to do with like Benhart last year and some of these other guys that have been around. And so I think that was a lot of the hope. And then when that kind of got dashed, a lot of people kind of had that sinking feeling in their heart where it's like, oh, here we go again. But I think he still had a lot of development to go, which is one thing we got to look at. And then I think when you couple that with Rule's attitude on Saturday after he closed the practice, I think a lot of people were like, well, why is he closing this? Or are we, is he seeing something that we're not? Should we be worried about that? That was my initial feeling around it. But then after I listened to him, and on that chasing 3 thing, he said, we do what we do, and I demand you do it right. I think he just demands excellence in everything that he does.
Yeah, why would he allow that chasing 3 clip to be released if that was a thing?
Exactly. And so he was certainly surly, more surly than he typically is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You could tell he's tired. But with that attitude, though, if that scrimmage wasn't up to snuff to what he expects, he's going to come out that way. They're a week into training camp. He's like, we've been doing this for 2 years now. You guys know what I expect. And if it wasn't there, and Tony White came out and said, like, hey, our tackling wasn't on par. Everything the coaches said yesterday, Rob and Tony echoed exactly what Rule said. They just said it more explicitly as what the case was to why they weren't happy with the performance on Saturday. So I think we all just kind of get in our heads about, we closed practice, what's going on, what's wrong. Well, it's like he's just closing it to, make sure he's doing things the way he wants them done. And, he's going to demand that excellence, whether people see it or not. And so I think that's kind of the reason the tenor changed a little bit.
Back-to-back great calls.
We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.